Welcome to the Legacy Radio Network. This is the Everything Financial Radio Show, and I'm your host, Dennis Tubergen. Glad you're with me today. We have a terrific show lined up for you. Mr. Jim Babka from the organization Downsize DC is here. We will be talking to him. And do you know that Obamacare can be stopped using tools that are already in existence? What Jim's going to share with you today is something that you won't want to miss. Also, the German finance minister this past week drew a line in the sand and said, no more help for Greece. Does this mean that the end of the Eurozone as we know it is near? And what will it mean for you and your money? A CNBC article this past week asked the question, are fiat currencies headed for a collapse? Well, every currency in the world is a fiat currency. We'll answer that question. We'll also get Mr. Mike Shedlock's take on it. He did an interview this past week, and I'm going to share with you a bit about what he says about the U.S. dollar in another segment. And Tim Geithner this past week went out and made a comment regarding the housing market in the United States and what the government should do that, in my view, totally displays how ignorant this guy really is. We'll be talking about what he said on today's show as well. I'd like to remind you that we have a brand new offer over the last few weeks for you. We have published a 2012 guide that we'd be very glad to send to you at no cost or obligation. The guide is titled 2012 Guide Surviving a Market Crash. You can get your complimentary copy of the guide by going to investingapproach.com. That is investingapproach.com. Entering your information, and we'll be very glad to send you your free copy of the guide. Also, if you've not attended one of our discovery groups in the last 3 months, you can go visit personallegacyseminars.com to get more information on attending. Please, if you've attended in the last 3 months, do not register. Give someone else a chance to attend. These meetings do fill up quickly. Personallegacyseminars.com is that website. You can go there to get more information. I am pleased to have with me again on the Everything Financial Radio Show today, Mr. Jim Babka. Jim is president of an organization called Downsize DC, and he's a past guest on the Everything Financial Radio Show. As I said, he's joining us once again today, and we're awfully glad to have him back on the show. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jim, for our listeners that may have missed your last interview on the show or are not familiar with your organization, give us some background on the organization. How was it formed, and what is it that you guys do?
Well, downsizedc.org is the primary website to visit, and as of right now, what we do is we have agenda bills that are designed to regulate Congress, and we have a number of different campaigns that are designed to stop bad proposals moving through Congress. And we give people a tool that they can use to communicate with the representative and senator simultaneously. It's easy to use. It's free. They register for it. It becomes even easier to use going forward. They just come back and keep using it again and again without having to re-register, without having to visit 3 separate web forms. And we try to activate people to join together and send out messages so that you're not alone in sending your messages. Your voice is magnified by other people joining you so that you can give your representative their work orders for the day.
Jim, your organization came up with, you've got several great initiatives that you're behind, and they're gaining some momentum. And one of those initiatives is the One Subject at a Time Act. And that certainly has gained some momentum. Explain what the act would do and who is supporting it, please.
Well, the One Subject at a Time Act is very, very simple. You know, we are concerned, Dennis, by the fact that Congress takes proposals that have absolutely no chance of passing by standing on their own, and in very undemocratic fashion, they cluster these proposals in with proposals that are sure to pass. They put them in the bill, and then they just slide them right through. And they've done this with a number of things over the years. Internet gaming, people who played poker, found that their hobby had been regulated out of existence one night in a port security bill. The Real ID Act was crammed into a bill for troop appropriation and tsunami relief. And right now, this very week, Chuck Schumer and Senator Lautenberg and others are trying to insert a gun control proposal into a cybersecurity bill. And so we're saying that these bills, which couldn't stand on their own, shouldn't be clustered with bills that are certain to pass. Everything should stand on its own merit. So the bill itself simply says every bill should have a clear descriptive title of what the contents are, limited to one subject. And second, everything in the bill must match that subject. And there's a framework that both the House and the Senate have. They have permanent standing committees in law, and we basically say the work of a bill is the work of a committee. And so we've limited to that. This is not a mere rule, Dennis. This is a law, so that if an individual finds themselves charged with a crime or perhaps they failed to pay a tax or some other thing that happened based on a law that was passed that did not follow that procedure, they can present the evidence to the judge that the procedure was not followed by the Congress, and the judge can throw the case out with impunity. And so people will be free to go. And so it has real teeth. It gives real enforcement. It means that Congress can continue to pass bills the way they're doing it now, but they won't have the binding force of law on the American people because they did it wrong. They failed to follow a very basic common sense rule. We're thrilled to report at this point in time that we have 8 co-sponsors in the House, starting with Representative Marino out of Pennsylvania. He introduced the bill back in February, and just this month now we were able to announce that it has been introduced for the first time in the U.S. Senate by Senator Rand Paul.
That is terrific. Now, this kind of brings us back to what you mentioned in the first question that I'd asked, or after I asked you the first question, Jim, and that is, how would someone get involved? They want to help out with this and make it law, and maybe this could go back to giving another website plug.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we tried to make this as simple as possible. We never believed, Dennis, that there was going to be a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington character in this story. Somebody was going to stand up and say, oh, we just need to reform and regulate our own behavior. We were going to need to do it with an overwhelming force. And so we encourage as many people as possible to do something relatively simple, which is visit downsizedc.org. They'll notice right now on the left-hand side of the homepage, there are 2 bills up in the left-hand corner that we are highlighting. And one of them is the One Subject at a Time Act, and they can click on that bill, go to that campaign, send their own personalized message. And as I said, the first time is the hardest because they got to put their basic contact information in so we know where to and how to direct the letter for them. And then from there, every time they come back, they'll be able to keep using the system again and again with an easy-to-access password. But on top of this, I would encourage, you know, if you really believe in this idea, we also have a toolbox there. You can find out your representative's and senator's number in Washington. You can call their office and tell them you want it, or even stop in and visit their office and insist on it. You know, the more personal the contact you make, the more involved you get, the more bang for buck that you get in terms of the type of contact you make. The more seriously they take your contact, the more effort you put into it. But, you know, it's some effort is better than nothing, and we've tried to make that effort as easy as we possibly can with the tool we have at downsizedc.org.
Jim, I read on your website that Senator Paul has also introduced the Read the Bills Act in the Senate. Can you, in the 2.5 minutes or so we have left in this segment, describe what this bill would require of Congress?
Well, yes. The Read the Bills Act says that every time a senator or representative wants to vote yes, they want to spend more money, increase taxes, create or retain a new program, they have to sign an affidavit saying that they have read the bill for themselves or they've heard it read to them. This heard read to in part says that the quorum, which the Constitution defines as 50% plus one of the members, has to sit and listen to a literal, word-for-word, in order, start-to-finish reading of the bill. Why? Because the mind will procure what the hiney will endure, and if we make them sit through the reading of the bill, those bills will get shorter, and they will cover fewer topics. We are, after all, downsized D.C. We also say that when the bill reading's done, a clock starts. 7 days have to go by before they're able to cast a final vote. This gives time for them to get feedback, which they will get because during those 7 days, the bill also has to be posted online for talk show hosts like yourself, watchdog groups like downsizedc.org, for everybody listening to be able to go and read that bill for themselves. And like the One Subject at a Time proposal I just described, it too has exactly the same enforcement clause. If they don't follow the proper procedures to pass it into law, you present that evidence to the judge if you find yourself in court under a charge that was passed that way, and the judge can throw the case out.
Jim, what, in your view, is the likelihood of this bill becoming law, or at least getting some more traction like the One Subject at a Time Act has done in the last few months?
Well, I think we can get some more traction, but it's been a lot of time for us to get to this point, and now the next big hurdle is to get enough co-sponsors and enough energy to be able to get a hearing and to get it sponsored. And we're already beginning now to get to the second stage in this process, where substantive disagreements, even if they're phony, are being made through proposals. We're just now seeing the One Subject at a Time Act being described as potentially unconstitutional under a seriously felonious theory of the law. So it's going to be a very difficult battle. But to me, Dennis, the thing that matters most, and the direction that we're going to be heading as this year rolls on, is that if the Congress cannot do these fundamentally basic, decent things, and they are demonstrating that they are an illegitimate institution, and Jefferson said such institutions should be fundamentally altered or abolished.
We are chatting with Mr. Jim Babka of the organization Downsize DC, and we will continue our conversation with him when Everything Financial Radio returns after these words. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Everything Financial Radio Show on the Legacy Radio Network. I'm your host, Dennis Tubergen, and we will resume our conversation with Mr. Jim Babka of Downsize DC in our next segment. Quick reminder, if you would like to get our 2012 guide, Surviving a Market Crash, it's real easy. You go to investingapproach.com. That is investingapproach.com. Let us know where to mail your guide, and we'll be glad to do that. Again, the website is investingapproach.com. Also, if you would like to attend an upcoming discovery group, we'll be out at Railside Golf Club in Byron Center on Tuesday, August the 14th. And on Thursday, August the 16th, we'll be at Stonewater Golf Club in Caledonia. You can go to personallegacyseminars.com and get more information or register. That is personallegacyseminars.com. Please, if you have attended a discovery group in the last 3 months, do not register to attend. Let someone else have a chance. These meetings have been reaching capacity. Again, one more time, the website is personallegacyseminars.com.